Welcome to Ask a Patent Lawyer with noted inventor and patent attorney Chris Maiorana. Each week, Chris answers your questions on patents, trademarks, and inventions. Now, here's Chris Maiorana.
Chris, your website mentions that you've worked on over 1,600 issued patents. How many pages is that?
It's a lot of pages.
Yeah.
There's no doubt. When a patent issues, the patent office prints it in this super condensed format. So there's 2 columns for each page. And on those 2 columns, they print it in like a 8-point font, maybe a 9. It's very, very small. So with all those condensed pages printed on front and back, I'm going to post a link of a picture of just how much paper it is. You can see it's just stacks and stacks of paper. So we've done these over years, and we usually have 3 attorneys at the firm, sometimes 4. We usually have a few law clerks and support staff, so everyone works together to make that happen. So it's a pretty large volume of work, to say the least.
Yeah, so this gives you a good idea of why you need an attorney helping you to get a patent issued. Now, do you work for large corporate clients or small businesses or individual investors? What do you do there?
A little bit of all of those. I mean, our main bread and butter clients are going to be corporate clients that give us repeat business. But there's no reason that we can't work for individual inventors, and we've had a fair amount of success with just the smaller sized businesses around town.
Now, how does your approach change for each client?
Well, it's the old adage that the client knows best, or the client's the boss. We go with that. So we do adapt and flex based on what each client needs. The larger clients tend to have more structured and strict procedures that they want to follow, because they have a lot of people working on not just the patent files, but they'll have an accounting department, they'll have maybe an in-house patent attorney, and if they want to see things in a certain format, we can do that. We can adapt fairly quickly and effectively. So some of the large clients have literally custom databases that we'll access and upload things to. So we know that a small client's not going to have that same setup. We also know that they might not necessarily know what's involved in the patent process all up front. So we can do a 2-step process or kill 2 birds with 1 stone, where not only will we guide them through the process, but we'll explain what the next step is as we're actually formulating the legal strategies at that point. That tends to work pretty well with small clients. So some people like a lot of email correspondence. We can do that. Some like talk on the phone. We can do that. So we're flexible to what individual clients are really looking for.
Whatever works for them, in other words. Yeah. Okay. Now, do your clients have success?
It's hard to measure success. In general, yes, is the answer. So, like large clients have, they might get into litigations with other large clients, and just the sheer volume of the portfolio is in itself an asset. So I have an analogy that I tell people a lot. Like, if you have 1 patent and you print it out on a piece of paper and you're sitting across the table and I throw it at you, you might get a paper cut if it hits you. If I have a banker box full of these things and throw them at you, you might break your finger catching it. You might break your arm. But if I drop a pallet of these on your head, it might kill you.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
That's what the corporate clients are trying to do. They're going pure volume. They still need quality in there as well, but if you're going to tangle with another big company and they have 10,000 patents and you have 1,000 patents, it's tough. And we had a very similar situation at one point where it was like a 10-to-1 ratio. So instead of just having a truce and say, here's a cross license, we can each use each other's technology. Well, the company that only had 1,000 patents, as opposed to 10,000, had to make a fairly large cash payment the other way just to balance that out. So they could have used that money to develop their own portfolio, which is kind of what they did moving forward.
No, okay,
So
okay.
Then a couple more things on a measure of success. So we had several medium-sized clients over the last 10 years, we'll say, had significant buyouts. So they make a small company, they get their patents protected, then they go and do they get leveraged and bought out by a big company. So we had at least two that had 9-figure deals. So those companies did quite well. We had a patent that went to more than one went to litigation, but we had one in particular that the CEO was quite happy with the patent in the end, and he made it into a crystal paperweight and carried it around and told everyone, this is my $1 million patent.
Wow.
So that was, for sure a success on that one. Then we had another one that was incorporated into one of the video standards. And that makes it a fairly valuable piece, because the way the video standards work is everyone contributes their patents to the standard if they're accepted. There's a whole separate process for that acceptance, but they incorporate them, and then they get a prorated share of the revenue from the standards based on how many patents they contributed. So we had success with that as well.
As a small law firm, Chris, can you provide the stability of a larger firm?
I think so. I mean, our firm's been in business roughly with the same structure of the three main attorneys. It's me, Bob, and John for 18 years now. So if you go to a big law firm, you're going to there's so much turnover, and partners even come and go. They go to another law firm to be a bigger partner, or the associates come and go. So I would say our firm is in much more of a recognizable condition compared to 18 years ago than any of those other firms. I'd say that of the places that I worked at before I started my own law firm, none of them had 18 years of consistent just survival like we have. If you think of what happened in those time frames, a lot of stuff went down.
Yeah.
I mean, we had the internet crash, which, since we do a lot of work for Silicon Valley, was a big deal. Then we had the financial meltdown. So through all those things, we had stability.
Yeah, that says a lot. Now, cost savings. We've talked about that, but how do you implement cost savings? What's your approach to that?
Well, one thing we like to do, if it works with the client, is just quote a flat rate for each service. So for preparing a patent application, once we understand the scope, if it fits within our general parameters, we can give a flat rate quote on that. So that helps because the client knows what it's going to cost. They're not cringing and saying, oh, it could be in this huge range that would be derived from billable hours of one form or another. So they know that this is what it's going to cost. And then we like that because then the clients don't feel like their bill increases by calling us with questions. So questions at the right time are very effective. So we'll ask questions of the client when we're preparing a draft patent application. Hopefully they'll ask questions back to us. So that's one way. Another way is just the small routine items. We've processed a ton of these things, which you can see by the picture of the issued patents. So we got pretty good at processing routine items, meaning we know the client needs a copy of an office action when it comes out. That we get that out right away, because with the patent office deadlines, you get 90 days to respond usually. After that, you have to start paying extensions. So we want to avoid paying the extension to the patent office. It's just an extra fee. There's really no need for it. So if we can get the documents to the client right away, get an initial question out to them, either through a phone call or a letter or an email that says, please confirm you want to continue on this. Do you have any concerns? We can look at the references, move from there. So that's another way that works out pretty well. And then the other thing is that since we're not a big law firm with gigantic billable hour requirements, we don't have the pressure to inflate the bills to the client. I mean, we put in a lot of work on these things. We take pride in doing a good job, and it tends to show. I mean, I was just at a in-person meeting with the out-of-state client, and they said that they were really happy with the work we've been doing, and it was a huge contrast to the work they had seen from their attorneys that they had in the past. So the quote was that these other attorneys seem to push more work onto us rather than just do the work. So we can do a lot with a little, so to speak, either with the information or with the time that's authorized by a client. But overall, since we're so flexible, being a small firm, we can really adapt. Where the larger firms, they tend to have, they have to go to partner meetings, they have to go to administrative meetings, they have meetings for everything. So they sometimes have trouble even just getting their work done. They have so many inter-firm meetings. So we don't have any of that. We can just cut right to it and get down to working on the actual patent files.
Thanks for listening to Ask a Patent Lawyer with noted inventor and patent attorney Chris Maiorana. Join us next time as Chris answers your questions on patents, trademarks, and invention.